Hi, welcome to The Cultural Barrier by Changing Suits. My name's Belle.
And my name is Taj.
On this week's episode, we'll be discussing, should we be working harder or should we be working smarter? Now, the reason we wanted to bring this up, or this time I've thought of the title, is because it...
First, isn't it?
Say that again, sorry?
I said, that's the first, isn't it? You've done some work.
Yeah, right. Anyway, it was because I was listening to something about how AI is obviously having a big impact, and those that don't embrace it and have like a hybrid sort of view at work. So it's about AI and leadership. And the whole thing was people that aren't using AI aren't being as productive, but then you still need the human touch to it. So that was where I was like, okay, that's really interesting. And as we've been growing up, when I was working, it was always, look, don't work hard, work smart. And, it's important. You've got the whole acronym and all that sort of stuff. But it made me think, right, where are we as a society, I suppose? And, how much has changed and what we're expecting going forward. So, in regards to our parents, for example, they worked really hard. Like, it was very much labor intensive and that sort of stuff. And that's not something we need to do. We're sat at our desks using our mental strength. But where do you think society's going, Taj?
From what I've seen at the moment, I feel that, again, not generalising,
But generalising.
but I'm generalising, younger people seem to think that...
Think. What do they think?
They think...
That the world revolves around?
Right, okay, let's start from the beginning. Because our parents came over to the West, they had to start all the way from the beginning, the ground up. I want to think about that. So they had to work hard, and it didn't matter if they enjoyed their jobs or not. They just did them because they needed to get the money in certain circumstances. For people that worked in factories and stuff like that, and for us, then we were kind of living off what they had, their hard work. So we worked less hard than them, and then now the generation
labor intensive, like less labor intensive. You mean?
Yeah.
Not less hard though.
Okay, all right. Okay, not so physical.
Yeah.
Okay. And then came the next generation, our children's generation. Now, even I've seen with revising for exams, I've just seen this from generally young people. I must say I am crazy when I revise, so I'm not exactly the best example, but there's no, oh my God, I need to do this anymore. Just a simple thing like that.
Really?
Yeah. It's more of a push. And then some of us parents are like, oh no, we don't want them to be upset. Actually, let's not push them too hard. But I suppose that's parent style.
Yeah, but then isn't that something that we're saying mental health is being impacted with young people, right? There seems to be an increase in mental health.
So does that mean that the older generation didn't have mental health? Everyone's got mental health.
Yeah.
So does that mean younger people?
Well, this is it. Like, this is going to become a really serious podcast, I can feed it, only because I saw something on social media, just a random thing, as you're scrolling through, that kind of thing. It was a very work intensive day, obviously. And basically it was a little boy who is in a war zone, who was fine. Like, he was holding it together, and then someone sort of cuddled him. Like, the doctor cuddled him, and then he broke down. It really upset me. That really upset me. And it's a case of, what do you think that's the sort of thing that the older generation went through? Like, they didn't really have okay, talk to me, like I'll give you a hug sort of thing. Most of them don't really want a hug anyway. Firstly, there's no physical, that kind of thing. So they didn't have time to then break down. Whereas it's sort of become like, actually, we can be a bit more emotional. And
maybe it was a case of, right, you've got an emotion, you just put it away and get on with it. Whereas now which I don't think it's wrong, because I think it is important to talk about your feelings so it doesn't manifest into something else, like a health issue or something. So I think that's
important. True. But then this is it. I was watching something. We've got a trademark. I was watching TV, and it was basically someone had murdered someone.
And you watch really light-hearted stuff, don't you?
I know, I turned it off. Like, I was like, I can't listen to this whilst I'm praying. I need something light. But basically, it was a stepdad who had killed, I think it was a 2-year-old or something. But he had a drug problem. And then it made me think, like, there is a systemic problem with this, right? The reason he started drugs, we don't know the reason, But you can't then blame his past, because what he's essentially done is wrong, right? And it comes back to this, like where you're saying, you know, they were sort of boxing up their feelings, like the old generation boxing up their feelings, and many of the people in our generation as well, and even the next generation, box up their feelings because it's a cultural thing, and then it manifests into something else, and that impact, it doesn't matter what the systemic problem was. That is what's, even if it's caused that, what you've then done is too serious for you to then say, oh, okay, there was something behind, that's why it's happening. Do you see what I mean, or am I just talking nonsense? Do you get
It's
what I
like
mean?
the perpetrator thing for domestic abuse.
Yeah,
So the person has abused the victim.
yeah,
Okay, you're working on why that happened. So you are saying that there is an issue that they done wrong, but
yeah,
let's try to see the past of where it started from, why it's happening. So you're not saying that they didn't do it and it wasn't their fault because their
yeah,
life experience made them do it. Because at the end of the day, everyone should be accountable for whatever you do.
yeah.
Because you ultimately make that decision. You could have something, for example, we're being really morbid here. If you have a parent that dies, either you can sit there and cry. Obviously, you need to have that time to grieve and stuff like that. Or you need to think, okay, this has happened. And over time, you're like, okay, I need to start carrying on.
But it's that is slightly different though, isn't it? It's the grieving process. So, okay, going back to it, I know we've sort of gone off on a real big tangent here. So, working smart or working hard, what should we be doing?
I think AI has made us generally lazy.
Hmm.
Like, for example, even email, if you use AI, you're like, oh, let me just carry on using it. I don't even need to think now. Let me put in emotion. That's it.
Let
Done.
me put in emotion. But the thing
Exactly. And not feel it.
is, someone said something really funny this weekend. So the person does like debates, and so they were talking. Apparently, they were telling us to over the weekend, and they went to Speaker's Corner, which is where you have a lot of political sort of debates, right? And I think someone had replied on their social media, and then he had replied because he didn't agree, and then the other person had replied back, but they'd forgotten to take. You know how ChatGPT has certain bits where it's like if you don't delete it, you know that it's been AI'd, and
Yeah.
we've had that on a seat. Do you remember we had that on an application that was applying to us, and it's like just delete the ChatGPT part, and then
Yeah. But the thing is, you can tell when something is AI'd as well. Because
yeah,
when you keep using it,
what like tapestry, the
like,
tapestry of feelings that kept coming up a little while ago.
yeah, like for example, right, for example, use ChatGPT at one time quite a lot. So you kind of start seeing the language that it uses and the way that it lays things out. So if someone else uses it, yeah, you're like, yeah, you're using AI as well.
But do
Yeah,
you know
I got
what?
that as well.
Yeah, but it's really interesting to see because as you use it, and I do use a lot of AI, and it's not Chat GPT because there's like political stuff going on with that, but I use other AI as well. But Chat GPT is really interesting because you could see where the algorithm for their program had changed because it became really positive. I could ask the dumbest question, it'd be like, "That is such a smart question." And this is what the reason for XYZ is, and it's like that's too positive for me. I'm like, okay, that's enough positivity, just get on. But even when it was doing that, when it first did it, I was like, thanks ChatGPT, I thought it was a really dumb question, but you've made me feel good about this. And then after like the 100th time, it's like, no, I'm not interested, just get on with the answer because it's obviously a dumb question.
So let's draw it back to now the younger generation. Are they using AI more
Oh yeah,
and they're becoming lazier? Or are
but
they using it and then being smarter and efficient because they're getting tasks done quickly?
yeah, but it's both, isn't it? So it's interesting because our older generation was very labor intensive. It was very physical. Our generation then went the other way. We were on desks. It was more mental sort of stuff. Now we've got to the next thing where it's not even mental. Like I'm not even sure what they're using. So the physical's out of it because obesity rates are going up. So that's quite clearly it's not working. Mentally, you don't have to do anything because AI is covering it, not just ChatGPT. Let's also advertise on Gemini and Claude and all the other ones as well, right? So what are they using then? Like
Yeah,
what's the
you
thing they're
start,
using?
yeah, well, how to type and how to use AI properly.
But it is productive. Like I love AI. Like I think it's fantastic. I don't know how I lived without it. To be fair, right? I actually had to.
You start losing your skills when you start using AI. I'm not saying that I don't use it because I do use it, but
Yeah,
then
but
you
the
start,
thing is, it's productive. So yes, you might not do that thing, but then it's more productive to do other stuff. So you move quicker. right?
But then this is the whole thing about life just being so fast paced, and is that what's creating our mental health issues now? Because life is so fast, and we mentally can't keep up with it because we're just speeding along, doing everything, and we're not feeling the emotion of stuff. So if you're writing, oh, I never thought of this. If you're writing, you're feeling what you're writing. Whereas if you're AI, yeah, okay, blah 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 blah, put it in, okay, that looks fine, send it off.
But didn't you say you put in emotion?
Yeah, but you put in emotion, you don't feel emotion, you put in emotion.
True. I mean, it's interesting to see the YouTube sort of reels that kids are watching now, because sometimes I do sit with the kids sometimes, right? And the YouTube is now 3 screens in that one screen. Have you seen it? Where it's like someone talking, there's some action going on in the middle, and then I can't remember what the third screen is, and it's like just like, so which one are you watching? Like, it's really interesting, and the rubbish that they're talking is saying, and at the same time, but you can see how it is sort of stimulating you. So why are we not then taking that away? You're obviously getting mentally stimulated there just from the screen. Then you're going away and you're not doing anything with it. Like, your brain's obviously working faster. So how are
But
we
it's
not?
an addiction. It is a type of an addiction because when I start watching, I do like I'm like, oh my god, I'm getting drawn into this as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we all do it, and you have to make that mental change in, okay, I need to stop doing this to actually stop doing it. Just like, I'm not saying it is as bad as taking alcohol or something, but you need to recognize you've got an issue before you try to resolve it.
I was listening to Australia had that social media ban. It's not working apparently, from what I heard this morning,
How come?
because young people want to have social media. They'll figure out how to get it. So it is that whole addiction thing of, okay, it's even against the law, but we'll do it because you're addicted to it.
Yeah, but the
It's
thing is, if it's against the law, what does the law do? Sue you?
well, no, sue the companies, right? Because obviously not putting safeguards on it. Okay, going back to it, should we be working? Because AI quite clearly is working smarter. You will get more productive. I love AI. I think it's like the best thing ever, right? It's sliced bread, even better than sliced bread because of all the issues bread's got now, right? But the thing is, working smart's good. However, the reason I wanted to do this topic, the other part was, so with the running, right? For you
What
to
do you
get,
mean with the running?
so I'm doing running with a group, right? I know that, like, I've hit certain things that I hadn't before. However, compared to the people in my running group, I'm actually the slowest, right?
Yeah.
But it's fair enough because the people that are faster and getting there, getting faster, they're the ones that are running more. And you can't work smart. You just have to work hard. You just have to do the running,
Yeah.
right? And because I'm not doing that, that's the reason I'm sort of lagging behind the others, right? And it sort of made me think of, yeah, you can be like work smart, but actually it's the ones that work hard that will get there no matter what. Do you get what I mean?
The running, yeah. I see what you mean. Like, that's physical thing. Yeah. You
No,
have to, in
but this
order
is,
to improve yourself, you have to, but I don't think that same thing applies to if you're doing something on the desk. All right, you might have to think away things round. Like, for example, you might be able to write a letter or whatever, but you still need to have that brain capacity to think, okay, I'm going to do this. I need to do
hold
it in a
on.
different way. Or you can make AI do that.
But then don't you think that that's the issue with mental health? Because we're so stuck at a desk in front of a computer, not really blood flow to the brain's not happening because we're not exercising. Exercise then is the key to actually making sure your brain still keeps ticking along. And the only way you can do that is through working hard. I know it sounds like a proper round circle, but on top of that, there is also AI that helps in certain types of, you do different types of running. So you might do a distance, one day you do distance, the rest of it is doing short bursts and da da da. And there's AI, and it's fantastic AI that we're using. So again, it's working smart to then work hard.
Or you can use, I've forgotten what the headsets are called. You can use that to pretend that you're in another world and do the running and the jumping and the
The
skipping.
VR thing.
VR, that's it.
That
VR.
gives me a headache, that the VR stuff though.
I don't use it too much, but still
Yeah.
moving along with the times. I think no matter how much you resist, you will have to eventually, just like cards and not, I mean, becoming cashless. I mean, the older generation, they like to use cash still, but because, for example, car parking, that's now cashless. You have to do it on an app. Everything pretty much is turning into an app. Although I went to an Indian suit shop yesterday and they asked for cash, and I was like,
Don't name which shop it is because cash is king.
I don't
Well,
know what the name of the shop is, but it's in Birmingham.
where are we going as a society was my sort of thought behind it, because we're so used to working smart, right? That we're not willing to work hard anymore for anything. You need discipline to work hard.
I
Whereas
don't
now,
say that as a general thing. I think there are, for example, younger generation. I think there are people that you will see that are really amazing and then you think that are very inspiring and they do it at a young age. So
yeah,
I have come across a lot of young people that are really working hard to get to where they are, like management positions in their late 20s or mid 20s, not
yeah.
because they've worked hard, they've just have got a skill.
But then they would have had to refine that skill and worked hard to do that.
I think, for example, there's a skill in management. Not everyone can manage, and it's about managing people, for example. And there's a way of doing that about having people like you, listen to you, respect you, and that's
Yeah.
done in a certain way. You can do it in a
Yeah, but
authority.
you can learn that.
I suppose you can.
You can learn anything though.
You can, but they've done it at a young age. So
Yeah.
have they learned really quickly, or they just got a bit of a gift as well to do it? Because some people just know how to connect.
So do you think this was a problem with the older generation where they weren't working smart? So because although, yeah, we're talking about AI, but actually there's been loads of big shifts in society, but our parents' generation didn't really go with those shifts, right? I mean, you look at, I'll give you an example. So you look at finance, for example, right? Other other sort of communities would have invested them any money they had, they invested it so it grew. Whereas our parents actually and other people that we know weren't really into that. They didn't know anything about it.
No, because in the Asian community, people like investing and buying houses.
True.
But you can't say they didn't
Yeah,
invest. And
that's true.
generally in schools, we're not taught about finance, which I think is a really important lesson to be taught about
Yeah.
how to handle your money. Basic things that if you don't have money, basically, money can make you happy or sad. If you've got bills and you're not able to keep up with the bills, well, you're running after the money. I'm not saying that money is the core of all happiness because it isn't, but it leads you to a level. If you know that you can pay each month your bills and have some happy times with your money as well, that sounded wrong. But then there is a kind of, okay, you don't feel depressed every month about meeting that.
But this is where AI again has helped. So I've been on one over the last few months. You know that I've been
One
very
as in,
like I've been very focused on certain things, and one of the things I've been really focused on is what happens to any assets I've got when I die, right?
always happy times.
I know, I'm always happy, but I'm 40 now, so I have to think about these things.
Oh my God, how could I forget? Not
but it
for
has, but it's made me think, and I think a lot of people do hit that point where it's like, oh, actually, I need to sort shit out, basically, right? And there's so much I don't know, and there's so much that I need to do. It's taken me months to
But
sort
you
of,
say that if like people hit that age and get to, okay, they might start thinking, okay, what's going to happen to my kids and that. But not everyone's like that. For example,
you're
I,
not, yeah,
I,
but yeah, but
I
your husband is, so he's done that. I know he has because he went through that last year. The same thing I'm going through now. So you don't have to go through it. And I know that my husband doesn't need to do it because I'm going to be on it. I'm going to be writing
so the
instructions for him.
lesson there is get a partner that does all the worrying, so you don't have to.
That's basically it. I mean, he's out gallivanting doing his thing, and I'm sat there on the laptop trying to figure out when I die who's going to get get the house, that kind of thing, and how to make sure that is. And there's so much. Anyway, wait, one thing, because I found it really useful, and if anyone, people that are listening to this is what I'd recommend. AI is fantastic. Put it in there. Make sure your settings are off for data trading and all that sort of stuff. So it's as much as it can be. I know they're still going to share your data or whatever, but using AI has been fantastic because I'm having a conversation being like, okay, so what happens if this happens and da 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 da, what should I be doing with this? And there's so many, tax wrappers and this, that, the other, right? AI is
That's
fantastic.
really
And not
exciting.
only have I done that, I've been playing AI off each other. So then I got 2 subscriptions and I was like, what do you think about the answer for this? And then you get the loopholes. And then you're actually learning yourself as to how it works and how you should be thinking about it from a different perspective because the other AI said it. And you're like, of course, that makes sense as well.
All right, let me make this podcast a bit exciting
Yeah, go on.
because I'm like,
It's
because you're
actually,
into it at the moment.
I'm
Okay,
proper into it. Yeah.
so inheritance. Do you think our generation think that it's their right to inherit from the older generation that have made houses and made their money, and they're not working as hard, and the younger generation as hard because they know that they're going to inherit from their parents?
I
That's
think
over to you.
I think this is a serious, serious, serious problem. I genuinely do, where people think that it's okay to be like, my parents will give it so, and I've worked so hard, yet you know that what you're getting isn't actually by you, it's by your parents. They worked hard. Let's get that straight. But saying that, I think from what I'm seeing from people I know, people are still working hard. And a lot of people I know are saying, I don't need the money. Like, do what you want with it, give it to the other sibling, give it to whatever, right? But I don't want it. And I've noticed that as well. So yeah, I agree that I have found, like, I've heard of cases where it's like, oh, I deserve that money. But on the other hand, you've got the other extreme where like people are saying, no, I don't want it. So it's both.
Do you think it's changed from when it is back in the day when people brothers have died and literally killed each other over land? Do you think, or it might not now be people killing each other so much or being underhanded, or it might be underhanded. Do you think it's still happening in the West where now siblings are having that rivalry of you
Yes.
shouldn't get it, I get it?
Yep. I think that's totally happening. And the sad thing is, we're moving as a society of, I mean, my thought is before everyone would be like, I want a son because the son will look after me, they'll carry on the family name. And the son usually got the finance, right? Now, I don't have an issue with that if the son is looking after the parents, right?
Yeah.
If that's not happening, then do they have a right to it? And the question then arises, if you've got a daughter and they're doing it and they're looking after the parents, should they have access? And we discussed this just a little while ago, actually, didn't we? You said someone that you know, the daughter said, I want that money. Well, firstly, the conversation was, well, actually, no one's got a right to that money. The parents can go out and splash it all they like. We know that's not going to happen because the older generation are very much like, yeah, we want to look after the next generation, which we appreciate. I mean, we wouldn't have made what we did had they not had that mindset, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing for us. We're looking for our kids to excel more than we did. And to do that, we need to give them the foundation, right? And that starts off with the money. So we'll be doing the same thing, right? Where the problem obviously happens, and we're not going to talk about this, whether the inheritance should go son, daughters, whatever. Let's not discuss that in this podcast because that's a whole other topic, right? But I think to think about the right of, I deserve this regardless of what I put into that relationship, I think that's a big thing. If you put stuff into it and you looked after it, then fine, you've got more of a right. But actually, if you didn't, then go donate it to charity, I guess.
Do you think that the older generation are soft, as in they don't mind if their kids teach and treat them like rubbish, and they will
Yeah.
still pass on their inheritance over to their children because they're like, where else is it going to go?
It was the done thing, though, isn't it? It's culture, it's tradition.
But do you think the older generation need to change their mindset as well, thinking, okay, it's going to carry on with their family, it's going to carry on with my kids and their kids or whatever? If they're treated so badly still, it's almost like rewarding that bad behavior.
Hmm. I don't know. I think it's a big social problem. This is. I mean, I've seen, again, social media when I was working hard again, but the people leaving, and this is in India that I saw this, people leaving their parents on the roadside, and I'm like, what? Like, that's really mean. That's not even funny, right? But I think we're becoming a society of, what's easy for me, that's what I want to go for. Is that
But
not
I've
working hard?
heard quite a lot of the older generation talking about making sure that they don't sign over their houses to their children just in case their children kick them out. And I'm
I
hearing
heard
a
that.
lot of cases about that. And now the older generation are worried because before it would have been like, okay, it's going to be yours anyway. But now they're worried and they're hearing stories about parents getting kicked out. I heard about a parent being kicked out and lives on a park bench or something like that. It's getting to that extreme where they're like, oh my God, we need to look after ourselves, which I think is a good mindset that they're looking after themselves.
Yeah.
It should be looking after themselves. But then what does that say about our generation, the generation below, the
But do
next?
you think this whole aspect of we've not understood what working hard, I suppose, has meant in that situation, and we don't understand how hard they have worked to get to that position? And then that's on everyone though, because we're making it easier for our kids, and so that they don't have to work as hard as we did, and then
Yeah.
we. So
Are
it's
we wrong in doing that as well? Should we become more westernized where we just think, right, quite a lot of families just don't pass on their inheritance. They spend what they've got and you earn what you get. If you live in the house, you pay
right.
um, rent. Do you think that's the right thing to
Well,
do?
the other thing is, other communities do the children do young people do leave the house a lot sooner than maybe the Asian community. So they might leave at 18, go and get their own flat. They need to learn how to do all the household stuff. But this is it though. Are we breaking up as a society so much because we're trying to encourage that? Or actually, there's nothing wrong with trying to help the next generation. We want them to get higher. The only reason we have the opportunity to do these podcasts, to do the work that we're doing, is because of the foundations that have already been laid for us. And we could only make a change. They weren't able to make a change for the community in the way that we're trying to, because they had to, it's survival, wasn't it? They had to look after themselves and their family essentially.
But I suppose in the older generation, like someone posted in one of the WhatsApp groups about a particular community in Norway, for example, and I responded and said, I used to live in Norway. I wasn't sure enough. And saying that that community lives how we used to in the 80s and 90s, where they actually used to care about each other. And now we don't. I don't think the community is so fractured. No one really. I mean, you don't even want someone to come round to your house.
I think it's becoming a real problem. I think it's really sad. We're part of that society, and I'm exactly the same. I hate people. I hate talking to people
Same.
now. But well, yeah, we've gone. But then what can you do? Like that's I'm not enjoying like being around people anymore. I just don't.
But why is that? Is that because you think that you could be doing something better? Because sometimes I'll be around certain people and I'll be not in a horrible way and I'll think, okay, could I be doing something else a bit more productive?
Yeah, but we're always trying to be productive. This is a thing, isn't it?
But
And
then
which is where AI comes in. We should be productive, use AI, and actually spend time with the
but
people we
AI is not going to think like you are. So maybe if you put into it, what can you do for your organization to make it bigger? It'll throw you a couple of answers, but you have to still keep typing away. And it's the person behind that, the laptop or the iPad, whatever, saying, okay, I want this answer. No, this isn't going to work. I don't want it this way. I don't want it that way.
But the other thing is we become addicted to that behavior as well. We might have done loads of work, but actually in our heads we're like, oh, actually I still need to get X, Y, Z done because we're addicted to that adrenaline of doing work, right?
Yeah, because it's getting to the point of us two where we're talking, we try to be like, let's separate business from personal. And every time we have a personal conversation, we always fall into, oh, have you done this for work? Have you done that for work?
But I think it might not be a bad thing because I mean, how much personal we used to talk about personal stuff all the time, and that causes problems. It's easier talking about work because it's no one else's. I don't know, man.
No, it never used to because we never used to work together. I think it does now, but before it didn't.
Okay. So let's go back to right to the start. Should we be working smart? Because we've come. I mean, I wasn't expecting this conversation to be fair, and it's been an interesting one because it does take us to is the way we're working smarter or harder or even both hybrid impact our personalities, in which case then that impacts how we see the world and what we deserve, I guess, from our parents and whatever, right? So what should we be doing? Should there
I
be
think the mindsets of different generations should change. I think the older generation should make it quite clear to the our generation and even us to the younger generation is don't wait around for my money because I don't know where I'm going to put it.
but you're very much going on a very the change of culture then, and this is where
Yeah, but doesn't that stop the behavior, for example, of our generation thinking that they're owed by the older generation?
But it's also a safety net, though, because I know if I fall flat, I take a risk, I fall flat, I know that I've still got backup, and there's nothing wrong with that. Because if
But
you
then
didn't,
at least you're taking that risk as long as you're not gambling
but then
and
it goes
dragging something.
it goes the other way actually, because have we got too comfortable that we don't take risks? And for example, a few of our cousins have gone from India to abroad, and they've smashed it abroad because they didn't have a choice. Either they took the risk or they were just mediocre, and they couldn't do that. So they were willing to, and I've noticed that a lot actually. Whereas we've been born here, our parents have been covering the finance for most of
Yeah.
our years, and then we haven't had to worry, and then we don't really take the risk.
Yeah, that is true. They are doing so well. They've had to start from the beginning. They've been like our parents' generation. But this comes into our culture, for example, those people that were landowners, it would have been from one generation to the next generation. And that's where it stemmed from,
Yeah,
passing in this inheritance from where it was like back at home, you'd pass it on to the next generation, the house would go to the next generation. And that's where it stemmed from. And the case, and we brought that to Western societies as well.
but is there anything wrong with it? Because what you've just said earlier
I
was,
don't think that there's anything wrong with it as long as there's appreciation.
I think that is the thing. I think with anything that we do, I think we're losing appreciation for what others are doing. We've got no empathy. And I've noticed that I think that is a bit of a slap in the face, and that's where it really falls. Because if you appreciate it, you'll be like, look, we know how hard you're working. I will put my all into making sure our relationship is good. So I'll help you wherever. People don't care anymore. It's like, we deserve that, but I'm not going to give you anything back. I do not agree with that at all. Yeah.
But that is, again, the generation today. We have, and is whose fault is that we're losing empathy?
I don't know, man. AI, because we're not putting, can you put your emotion in? So,
Maybe yeah, humans need to be wired.
I mean, from that audiobook that I was listening to, the point was if you don't combine both AI, which is we keep going back to working smarter, it is the way we're working smarter, and in other ways, I don't know how. I don't know. I can't think anymore. I'll put into AI later and figure that out. But we still need the working hard, and I think if we don't work on that, then we're falling down as a society. It creates discipline. Yeah, I think it's a hybrid approach. It has to be. Our parents work too hard. They need to learn AI. Next generation needs to work. We need to be we're the sort of bridge between the two. Next generation has to learn how to work hard because they're already on the AI. So how do we bridge it? We need to teach the older generation AI and the next generation how to work hard to get further. Yeah. On that point, it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.